It's R&R in the morning. A Thursday edition. Congratulations, you made it. He's Rudy J. I'm Rob Thompson.
Yep.
Estadio Azteca plays host tonight to the qualifier between Team USA and Mexico. When we talk soccer, we reach to the very best. We got her. Katie Goodman joins us, our soccer insider. Welcome aboard, Katie. How's your morning going?
Pretty good. Not bad at all. How's it going for you guys?
We're living the dream. We're big time and, big time comedians. We're just doing what we do.
Got to be on time if you're going to be on R&R.
Talk to us, KG. What's going on?
Now, but before we go,
there, before we
talk about it, this is what I read this morning in preparation for this.
Oh, you prepped for this?
Well, I kind of.
You prepping without me?
Katie was coming. I had to.
Wow.
I had to be ready.
You showing off for company.
You guys, I feel honored.
So we have a team where we're sitting in second place.
Okay.
In the qualifier behind Canada. We have a little bit of a half game lead on Mexico in this qualifier thing. And I'm reading that the coach is like, we'd like to win the next 3 games, but if we tied, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And it is Mexico, and I might not bring my A team, my A squad. Maybe we're good enough for a tie with our B team. Is that lowering expectations and expectation of maybe a tougher game, or is it really not that important to beat Mexico today?
Well, he has no choice but to bring his B team because we have 6 injuries. We have Brendan Aronson, we have Gio Reyna, we have Sergio Dest, we have Weston McKennie, Matt Turner. 4 of those are starters. We have 6 injuries, 4 starters, and then Gio Reyna is actually questionable right now. And then to top it off, we've never won or at Estadio Azteca. So, and that goes with 13 losses, 3 draws, 0 wins of all-time qualifiers. Yeah. So the odds are definitely against us. There's only a 45% chance that we'll even win that game. So I think he's going in there the idea that there's only a few players that are actually going to be able to play a 90-minute game. So right now it's like, well, do we give it our all? Do we go in and hope for a tie and then really focus on Panama and Costa Rica? Hope maybe Canada takes out Costa Rica, which they are expected to do, and try to get into qualifiers mathematically. Now, he has said that he wants to win the game. He wants to win all 3 games, but that's what he's supposed to say. He can't say, hey, I want to go in and tie, because that sounds great.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
But we're just in a really rough situation at the moment. And especially with Brendan Aronson and Weston McKennie, they're both central players. That's going to be a huge hit for us. So, it's going to be an interesting match. But, I think when things like that happen, that's when you see more heart. That's when you see more scrappy plays, things happening. They have to play up now. The odds are against them. So I think a lot of times that's where the dark horse comes through, right? And that's where people show up. So
I think
it could be anybody's game.
He was tempering expectations for people like me, because for me, I like nothing more than to beat up on Mexico when it comes to soccer. Now, of course, it's tough to win down there. That stadium gets crazy. I've actually visited that stadium. I've gone, I've been down there a couple times actually to see the stadium.
Huge,
not a game. Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm guessing, I'm glad you let me know the 6 inch. I'm glad I've, heard from the coach on the tie, because I'm going in like, we got to go win. This makes my month when we beat Mexico, because I think we've won the last 2 or 3 times we've played them.
We've won the last 3 times.
Okay, I knew it was something like that.
It hasn't been in Mexico on the turf. It's been in other situations, at the Gold Cup in the U.S., or the last qualifier was in Cincinnati. So the odds were in our favor for those games. So, and that's the interesting thing about statistics, right? Like, statistics are just statistics, and it's an opportunity for them to actually make history without their starting squad. So we'll see what happens.
So here we sit. We get Mexico tonight. There are 2 more matches left in this World Cup qualifier. They get Panama coming up in just a couple of days, and then very quickly thereafter they get Costa Rica, and then the World Cup draw, I believe, is next month.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that is correct.
What are our chances of making into the World Cup as we sit? Are we in? What do we have to do to get there?
Great question.
So right now we're tied. We're tied with Mexico. To have a secure in, we would have to beat Mexico and Panama. But considering the circumstances, if a tie or a loss results,
Yeah, what happens if we lose?
Have to beat Panama. Canada has to beat Costa Rica. It will rely on our entry into qualifiers will rely on what Canada does and what other things happen. It'll only be a mathematical qualification that is dependent on the results of other games. So if we wanted a secure in, an official in, we would win all 3 games. If not,
wow. So
cross your fingers.
I felt like we've played so well this qualifier for us to be in a situation right now where we you can't lose in Mexico, and then you need Canada to do this. Damn, what was all that work we put in for?
I know. There's been a significant improvement since the 2017 team.
Yes.
Analysts everywhere have addressed that. And so I think even without our starters, we're still a better team than the 2017 team. So I think it's not like we're going into this about to get our heinies handed to us,
no.
for lack of better terms. But it's going to be a tough game to take a win. So yeah, and it just is what it is. That's what happens when you don't have a couple of draws versus winning against teams that you should have won against. Canada came out guns up this World Cup qualifier, so they just kind of hammered it home for everybody.
Is Canada already in?
Yes, Canada's in. They're good to go. So it would be really great if they would just put Costa Rica away.
It would very much help.
But considering they're already in, Rob, does Canada say, screw USA, let's play our C team against Costa Rica?
Now it seems to me if you have this B team that you're going to have to, you're forced to play. Mm-hmm. How hard is it just to coach to a draw?
Oh, tough.
Is it still that hard to coach to a draw? Can't I just surround the net? I mean, you know.
Mexico's gonna try to kill us.
Well,
Rob,
you can roll in and go, ain't nobody scoring today. Now we're not crossing midfield, but ain't nobody scoring. And if you did roll in with 3 straight ties, will that get them in? Because if that's the case, I think we can coach ourselves to a couple of draws.
Great question.
I mean that's a possibility. I think something you'll definitely see in their formation is a heavier defensive line, so like a 4-4-2 or something like that, just considering the circumstances. But they still have a couple of really solid players in key positions. They have Zimmerman as a center back, and a lot of people don't give center backs the credit they deserve, but they're kind of the backbone of the team. And he's a solid player. He's been solid the entire time. He's been solid in the MLS. So I think that's a really good person to have back there. We also still have Christian Pulisic in the attack. We have Ricardo Pepi coming out, Jesus Ferreira. We still have some really solid players. It's just we're missing a couple of those key players that really made a difference in the last couple of games. So it's an opportunity for other guys to step up and show up. But, you don't want to go too heavy on the defense because that just gives them more opportunity in your half if we're not on the attack. We got to be on the front foot, getting in. I'm just really interested to see what his approach is going to be with that. I'm wondering if they're going to high press right off the bat or if they're going to kind of sit back and damage control.
The prevent.
So that'll be something.
Yeah.
Going in a prevent defense.
Because Mexico's going to be in attack mode because they're behind us. So if we need to win, Mexico dang sure needs a win. Katie, the other day we were talking about the most underrated American athletes. And I brought up Pulisic because, I mean, he's the best U.S. men's soccer player of all time, and he plays for Chelsea. That's not normal. So, and he's definitely underappreciated. And then Rob asked the question, and I want to know your answer. Who is the best player in the MLS? I mean,
the best American player.
Best American player in the MLS. Who would I know that may be a curveball, but who would you say?
There are so many.
Are there? Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good answer.
Glad, I was afraid you were going to go.
I thought it'd be easy. It's this guy, of course.
What comes to mind is Mark Anthony Kaye from the Colorado Rapids. He's playing on Canada's national team at the moment. But then you have people like Christian Pulisic. He's on in the MLS,
right.
But he was in the MLS at one point. Went over to Chelsea FC. So I'm just thinking of the best players that are American. But in the MLS, I mean, you have Zimmerman. he's been a consistent show for us in the center back, and he's from Nashville SC. So like, yeah, we've got a couple of key players there. There's a bunch of FC Dallas players. So the U.S. men's team is actually made up of a ton of FC Dallas Academy players. So while they're not maybe currently playing for FC Dallas, they came up through FC Dallas. So they claim to be the backbone of the U.S. men's national team. That's like their little claim to fame there. And they just pumped out Ricardo Pepi, who just left to Augsburg. So again, it's hard to say because once they get really good, they go.
Ricardo Pepi went to Augsburg? I just like saying that.
Yeah. Good old German team.
Real quickly, I know that the World Cup draws around the corner next month, I believe. And I think that like 29 teams, I think, are in. And there's about 3 other places being played for, one of them, which the Team USA is playing in. I don't understand the politics behind the World Cup draw. And I'm reading that there's some controversy yet again about the draw and all of this. Is there anything that you can help us laymen with here?
What do you mean by World Cup draw?
Well, you know, they're all afraid of the pool of death and, you know, who gets put into the toughest of draws and the politics behind how the pools are drawn. Because basically it's supposed to be like drawn out of a hat, right?
Yeah, it's supposedly drawn out of a hat. And I mean, that's so there's nothing you can really do there, you know. I wouldn't doubt that there's some sort of trickiness going on. No doubt. I mean, you know, corruption happens.
Well, in FIFA, more often than not, corruption seems to happen.
Yeah.
Are you going to Qatar? Are you going to Qatar in November?
Yeah, we're sending her. She's going to be our in-bed reporter.
I love the sound of that. Sign me up.
Well,
I'll be there.
You'll be in Qatar on a radio budget, so you might not be all that in on it.
For real.
Hey, I'll take what I can get. You get me a ticket.
You'll figure out the rest. Got you.
I'll figure out the rest.
Love having Katie on. You'll hear more of her. It's what she said. It's coming. It's around the corner. Katie Goodman joining us as we talk soccer. Our Rock the Meg finalist and our soccer expert. Thanks for stopping by today.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.